Well, we're actually right here on Silver Lake Boulevard. Sorry, Glendale. We're on Glendale Boulevard in the Silver Lake area. You can see that SUV right there. It's going to be a Volkswagen SUV. The original want was an ADW. That means an assault with a deadly weapon. We don't know what that deadly weapon was, but during the chase earlier on, right now they're more in a tracking mode. You can see that bright light overhead, no black and whites around the vehicle. But earlier on, there were black and whites right behind this vehicle. He was making wild turns, and somewhere along the line, he collided with one of the officers that was chasing him. So now that's assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. Very, very serious crimes for sure. Now you can see these are very high speeds this evening. Northbound is what they keep saying. We're on Glendale Boulevard, cutting through a gas station right there. And it sounds like we just turned onto Berkeley, and this vehicle continues to go. Now, officers from LAPD are in the area. Westbound Berkeley from Glendale, officers from LAPD in the area, but you can see this vehicle still driving erratically this evening. He's got to know that helicopter's overhead lighting him up. Again, this started out as an assault with a deadly weapon call. Officers from, I believe, Rampart Division got behind this vehicle, lit him up. It was a pursuit. During the chase, he actually hit another police car, and that turned this into an assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. Very serious. Now we're going to be southbound on Benton Way, residential neighborhood, but this car continues to try to elude the officers from the air. But the car is on the ground. They are nearby, and believe me, officers from LAPD, they want to get this guy, and they want this to come to a stop before somebody else gets hurt. Right now, though, they're in the area. This is a tracking mode situation. They were in full-blown pursuit earlier on when it was just an assault with a deadly weapon call. That's one of the LAPD helicopters. They actually have two LAPD helicopters over this call right now. That's one of the reasons why is if he gets out and he runs, they want to make sure that they're able to track that car. Made this wild U-turn right there. And southbound, this is going to be the intersection of Mayberry, and I didn't catch the cross right there, but apparently he might have some sort of navigation, or he may just know this area very, very well. For some reason, he changed his mind right there. Westbound Mayberry from Waterbury, I understand it. But again, this is a residential neighborhood. He chose this area. He went up into the hills. It was a full-blown pursuit earlier on, and that's when this car made contact with a police car, and that's what changed the game. All of a sudden, it became assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. Well, they were in pursuit. I don't know. That was actually in the moments between us hearing it in the office and getting into the helicopter. So that actual collision, we don't even know where it happened, how bad it was, if those officers were injured or not. But this car has been driving this type of erratically since the beginning, and also has been in tight spots going through parking lots earlier on. It was more down by the MacArthur Park area where it started, off of Wilshire Boulevard, and he's worked his way north of the 101 up into the Silver Lake area, and he's been in these tight neighborhoods up here, driving around, a lot of trees, and you can see people in these neighborhoods when they come by these streets, very, very tight. Anybody who's lived up here or driven up here, they know that situation. Another person driving right there, and he's got to get around these cars. He's been, we've seen him come nose to nose with a couple cars, basically letting the cars pass, making these moves. But you can see right there, that's just somebody driving this afternoon. Getting back out onto a major, we'll get you that street right here in a second if he chooses it. And he does. I believe that this is probably going to be Silver Lake Boulevard. I'm waiting to get confirmation on that. But look, right back into that neighborhood again. Apart- It is an apartment complex, but it does look like it has another out right there. And you know, is that just luck, or does he know this area that well? He's been running. Now we're back out onto Glendale Boulevard, as I understand it, eastbound on Glendale Boulevard, and you can see how quickly this guy's driving. He does run pretty much every stop sign, every red light. Turning the lights on and off on that car this evening. I don't know if that's the Tiguan or the bigger Volkswagen SUV, but some of these actually came with V8s, and I think even earlier models had V10s. But I'm not sure which exact one this is, but it definitely is a Volkswagen SUV that he's running in this evening. He's been moving pretty quick. And you can see these tight situations out here, getting very close to those parked cars. But it does seem like, you know, a lot of these streets also dead ends. But it does seem like he knows the area. But we don't know what his plan is, obviously. But we know LAPD, they want this guy in custody as soon as they can. Passengers? No, we haven't heard anything about any passengers. Right now, the original call was assault with a deadly weapon. Officers from LAPD, I believe it's Rampart Division, tried to make a stop on this car. They lit it up, and the vehicle basically ran right away. And then, earlier on, it was a full-on pursuit. There was no helicopter overhead. They didn't have time to make that call and get their ducks in a row. They basically saw the vehicle, tried to pull it over, and the pursuit was on. As soon as that happened, the helicopter, of course, joined the chase, and then, of course, they had other officers in the area, so there were a lot of black and whites behind it. And he was making erratic moves, driving through parking lots and etc. Somewhere along the line, he made contact with, he came to a complete stop. We've seen this before, though. It looks like he's almost looking at a map, maybe, trying to figure out where to go. That was... But you know, sometimes they think they have a plan, and maybe they're making phone calls, and this is the first time we get a kind of a look in that front seat there. It does appear that right now it is just the driver inside that car, but you know, we've been surprised in the past, I'll tell you that. But right now, this vehicle's still moving at very high speeds, trying to get away from the officers in the air, which, you know, it is going to be very, very difficult. If he does stop, jump out, make some sort of run for it, there are officers like that one right there in the area, and they are very, very close by, and I'm sure he's passing them every now and then. So he's got to know that there are other officers. But Are we on Fletcher? Copy. Well, we're on Fletcher, and I believe that's going to be San Fernando Road right there. Adwater Village is the town that we're actually the area that we're in right now. And we just made a turn on San Fernando. I believe there's going to be eastbound on San Fernando. Southbound San Fernando. You can see another hard turn right there. Looks like this is going to be a freeway on-ramp. This is the first time we've seen him get onto the freeway. But he was moving extremely fast, using the center divider, especially dangerous in itself, even more dangerous on a bridge when he was getting over the river that we were talking about, that you were talking about earlier on. Right now we're on the 5 freeway, and you can see speeds really starting to pick up again with this black SUV this evening. Volkswagen is the only thing that we know. Right now, though, LAPD, they are still in tracking mode. They are keeping an eye on it, a very close eye on it. His erratic driving, the high speeds, and those maneuvers, he was running a lot of those red lights. Officers are LAPD still deciding that tracking mode probably the best situation to keep the public safe. They do have officers in the area. Don't know if they're going to be getting on the freeway right now, but I can tell you that officers that are in the area are probably making their way closer to the 5 freeway in case he gets off the freeway. Right now, though, it's just the helicopter that's overhead lighting it up, making the calls. Right now, pretty easy work. He's on the freeway. Earlier on, when he was in those tight streets out there in the Silver Lake area, that was extremely dangerous. Looks like he's pulling over to the right side. That means off-ramp, and that's what we're seeing right there. Higher speeds, he's on the brakes. We'll see where he goes and exactly what this off-ramp is here in just a moment. But doing that same type of maneuver again, at least he came to an almost stop there at the end, checking for traffic. And he got back off at Glendale. So he's basically back in that same area where he was earlier on, back underneath the freeway. You can see some of those LAPD units basically joining the chase. That one black and white right there almost could have got up ahead of him. But they're not going to make those type of moves. They want to be safe. They are actually, as some people have a hard time believing it, but believe me, it is true. They are even concerned about that suspect's safety. They're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize anybody's safety, especially the public. But of course, they also consider the safety of that person that right now is running from them. And apparently, at one point, they're saying assault with a deadly weapon against one of their officers. So, difficult situation. I'm sure that there's a lot of emotions going on right now with officers, but this car continues to run just past another black and white right there. We'll get you the name of the street, but I still think we're on Glendale. Might be Alvarado, but we're Echo Park area for sure. Right now, this is the area where he was earlier, but he was choosing to stay on the smaller streets, making a turn onto another major. We'll get you that street here in a second. Westbound Sunset. Berkeley. Berkeley is a street. Over the 101. Lights are off again. All right. Beverly. Whoa. Well, that's right. He's off of Coronado right now. He was on Sunset for a while. Beverly was the long one that he took basically from the north side of the 101 to the south side of the 101. You know, his turning off those lights, it's not going to deter the officers, but it is going to create a dangerous situation for any of the other vehicles in the area. Might make it a little bit more difficult for any other drivers to see this guy coming. Now, you know, LAPD right now, they are in tracking mode, and basically tracking mode is where their officers are on the ground. They're up getting back onto the freeway, back onto the 101 freeway right here, southbound. But tracking mode is basically where the helicopter is going to be overhead. They're going to have the light on it. They're going to keep an eye on it. Don't think that the ground units, the officers in the patrol cars, they just don't go back to doing what they're doing. They're in the area. They are close by. But they're not running lights and sirens. Looks like we're going to be getting back off the 101 freeway here. But they're not running lights and sirens right behind the vehicle. That's what tracking mode is. When we see that, we'll see those officers with their lights and sirens right behind it, that's when they will say we're going to re-engage that pursuit. Making that turn right there on Alvarado, making a northbound turn right there underneath the freeway. We saw somebody with a camera down there. You know, using that center lane, getting back onto the freeway right now. This guy might just be buying himself some time. Don't know what his plans are. Gosh only knows. We're moving Sky 9 around right now, but this is going to be a nice pirouette, I can tell you. Maybe you might get a little dizzy at home, but we got this. Right there, and you can see this guy really kind of moving out, really passing a lot of the other cars on the freeway this evening. And you got to know they're all going about 65 miles an hour, so he's probably bumping it up to about 70, 75. Right now getting right behind somebody, but maybe his plan is to get back off the freeway again. Lights off, you know, it just makes the situation so much more dangerous for anybody in the area. I read some street signs right there. Looks like we're going to be getting back off the freeway. He's probably going to go back to the south because that's the area when LAPD says he's registered to. I believe it's over there more towards Coronado and 7th. Right now, though, you just saw him make that turn. We're going north away from the freeway. Silver Lake from the 101, so he's kind of going back up into that neighborhood again. Really sharp turn right there. It's the first time I saw that vehicle kind of lose control. So he's really starting to push that car past its limits. A newer vehicle like that, an SUV, I'm sure it has some sort of traction control, anti-roll, all those nifty toys. So when you see it fishtail like that, he's really pushing it past its limits. Passing some of these cars, getting back into those tight neighborhoods. This is the area where he was earlier. I believe that's going to be, he just went underneath Sunset. That's what it was right there. Northbound Alvarado, back up into the Echo Park area. Well, you know what? I am going to be the last person to quote LAPD policy. I am not up to date or in that loop, but we've watched, we've heard, we've seen Uh, using the spike strips, they might do that, yes. But take a look at that. You got pedestrians right there, and she's like taking pictures probably because she's mad because this person ran the red light in front of him. Had probably had no idea that this is a very dangerous pursuit. They will do what they can safely in any situation. If he picks an area and he starts making blocks, whoa, sharp turn right there, and you saw that car start to fishtail a little bit. There we go, back into the hills. Now you pick in another street right there, blacked out. It's really tight streets. You know, there's always enough room to get by. You know, anybody that lives up here, they're not going to be blocking these streets. But if there's any of these other cars coming the other direction, it could be a problem. And of course, you know, pets, anything in these neighborhoods. This car driving extremely fast, lights off. He's probably not going to see it. I don't know the exact street. I know that it is one of the terraces, but working his way up into the hills up here. Very difficult. Marcos this evening really working the controls on Sky 9, keeping us in a position where we can see it. You know, it just makes the situation so much easier for everybody, for us, to keep track of it. I just got to give a shout out to my pilot this evening, just rocking it. Right now, though, residential neighborhood again, Silver Lake area. Very tight roads. We haven't seen him get out and run, and that's kind of interesting. He just kind of drives around these neighborhoods. He'll get to these intersections and make these stops. And, you know, you got to wonder if he's like looking at some sort of map or he's just getting his bearings, because he hasn't hit one dead end yet. He hasn't made a poor decision as far as these roads go yet. We saw him go through that apartment building, and you know, how do you know that it goes all the way through and there's no gate? So it's pretty interesting in itself. Speed bumps right there. Chase continues, that's for sure. Assault with a deadly weapon suspect somewhere along the line. Assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer just compounds the situation. Right now, you just saw another black and white in that neighborhood, just kind of parked there. So. Oops, sorry. Threw something out. Are we on Sunset? Eastbound Effie. Michael Terena, still on Effie. Could be the vehicle. Yes. Oh my gosh, more than an hour, more than 90 minutes. Yeah. Silver Terrace. Silver Lake Terrace. Eastbound Angeles. Angus. Michael Terena. Well, you know, we saw this guy throw something out the passenger side of the window before he got back onto Sunset earlier on. And even in these little tight streets, we actually saw somebody walking a dog, or just basically didn't even try to get out of this guy's way. So there's probably a little bit more room than we thought. These tiny streets are right there. We're eastbound Tesla. Looks like we're getting back onto northbound Silver Lake Drive. That's where we're on right now. So this is one of the bigger streets that we've seen. Officers from the LAPD, do they have something up their sleeves? Well, right now their plan is track this guy. He's been driving erratically, but he hasn't been to that point where it's like where you just go, oh my God, we got to do something. We do see him passing like other vehicles like that. Basically, maybe did he want to take that turn? Probably not. There he goes. And he cut that guy off. So, and I'm sure this guy just driving his way, you know, basically probably just going home or leaving somewhere, saw that light, so he knew something was up. Rowena is going to be the major that we're going to come up to right there. I believe that's what that is. So we're back eastbound Rowena right there, and you can see him. That was Armstrong we were on just moments ago. Right now you can see that he is. Susie, you're right. It seems like he's slowing down. Maybe that adrenaline is starting to wear off. Maybe he's starting to think, what the heck am I doing? But as soon as we say that, back into that residential neighborhood, back into these windy roads, if he has some sort of plan, he's still trying to get his ducks in a row, because he just keeps driving around out here, you know, swinging around, and you know, it's impressive that he hasn't hit anything, and he knows these streets. But how is this happening? Why this is happening? I can't even begin to imagine. The officers, though, I can tell you, they are ready and waiting in a way, in their own way. They do have some officers, like you said, in the area where that car is registered. What their plans are, I don't think it's anything crazy or violent. They just kind of want to be there if this car stops. We are right by the actual reservoir, right by Silver Lake itself. That's why I'm going a little bit wider. I think we're back onto Silver Lake Boulevard right there, working our way back towards the 101. That's the reservoir basically on the right side of the screen. Officers from LAPD, they are there, they are watching, they're keeping an eye. And now, you know, I don't know why or how or what, but they're actually, LAPD is going to turn off the night sun as well. I don't think that's going to calm this guy down, but you know, I'm not a trained police officer. I'm a photographer in a helicopter, so a totally different situation. But they have actually shut that light off now. I would think that was helping the public, but maybe it was agitating the suspect. We'll see how this works out in the end. Right now, though, 2 helicopters from LAPD overhead. They're keeping a very close eye on this. They are still in tracking mode. The officers in the helicopters, they have the technology. They're calling out each one of these streets when they have them, and they are allowing, basically informing the ground units, the patrol officers, where this guy is in case he does stop and jump out and run. And I can almost assure you, if that happens, we'll see a lot of officers that we didn't know were in the area just magically show up. So Spreeway Drive, I believe, is the street right now, straddling that center line. And you saw one of the LAPD helicopters. Silver Lake Drive, sorry about that, Spree Lake Drive, what am I thinking? Anyways, the chase continues. Right now, no night sun, no officers right behind it. Assault with a deadly weapon on a civilian, assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. That's what this guy is wanted for. And, you know, the traffic violations, we all know that they just are going to hit him up with felony evading. But so far, luckily, we haven't seen any major damage or any major collision with anybody. Nobody is actually, as far as we know, has actually been hurt this evening. But the chase definitely continues out here. Silver Lake area, high speeds, medium-sized SUV, and a driver that has been very aggressive at times, so it is probably pretty dangerous for the civilians in the area. All right. Looks... Did he stop? Nope, he's backing up. Armstrong. Well, you know, you were talking about go with what you know, and definitely he must really know these neighborhoods. Silver Lake and Echo Park, anybody that's in these very nice neighborhoods, they all know how windy these streets are, and to be able to maneuver through them so well, you just got to wonder. I mean, this guy's got to be really, really familiar with it. He was on Armstrong earlier on. It looks like he got back onto a major. I'm just kind of looking at the map. I'm going to get a little bit wider here. But basically making a pretty ballsy move right there, going around into oncoming traffic. This is going to be Silver Lake Boulevard again. They're right next to the reservoir. You know, those were very curvy areas, blind curves, and on the wrong side of the road, blacked out. That could have been very dangerous. Luckily, it wasn't. You can see the brake lights coming on, coming up to another major intersection. Actually slowed down for the red light, cut that guy off. sure there's some honking going on, and I'm sure there's some maybe verbal words being said, at least in one of those cars. You saw an officer from LAPD right there at that corner. Did he put out spike strips? I can't say, and I'm not saying that like I know and I don't. I just can't tell you. I just really don't know. But it was kind of interesting that he was right there at that intersection where this guy made that turn. Basically working his way back into one of these hilly neighborhoods, made another sharp turn, cut somebody off. If there were spike strips, we'd probably be seeing something right about now. We've discussed this in the past. They're basically, just think of like a hollow nail, and they break off, and what happens is they let the air out very slowly. It's not like in the movies. The tires don't explode and there's, you know, sparks flying. It doesn't happen like that at all. The air comes out very slow, and that's in a way for a controlled type of situation. Back on to Glendale. Southbound on Glendale just came out the other side right there. It looks like all the tires are good, so if that was an attempt at spike strips, it didn't. It probably didn't work. But you can see him continuing on out here, back working his way in with the traffic. When he gets onto Sunset, that's one of the spots for some reason I always, you know, there's so much traffic out there. There's a lot of approaching. He's back. They're talking about a smaller street called Effie. That's one of the streets that he was on many times before. Don't know if he's going to take it again. Hard on the brakes, changing his mind right there. But when he gets onto Sunset, what I want to get out there is there's a lot of little restaurants. There's a lot of smaller clubs out there. I know it's a Wednesday night. You know, I work, so I'm not out there. I don't know what the club scene is like, but it worries me that when they get in those type of areas, you've got a lot of people out there, a lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of people looking for parking. He's making a U-turn now, back heading the other direction on Glendale, basically heading the way he came. Wrong side of the road, established wrong side of the road. Oh no, it's my bad. He's on the right side of the road. And northbound Glendale and approaching Blaine and basically heading back towards the way where he came. And it just seems to be that this general, just driving through these neighborhoods, kind of keeping to this one area. Maybe like you said, Jeff, he's going with what he knows. And right now, LAPD, they're kind of getting to know this neighborhood pretty well too, following this guy. So you got to wonder if they're going to start setting something up, possibly spike strips, maybe re-engage this chase. But right now, 2 helicopters from LAPD watching. And Marcos, tell him he's northbound Glendale past the 2. Is he getting on the freeway? He's getting off Riverside. He's getting off on Riverside. He's on Riverside. Looks like southbound Riverside. You're probably better at it than I am. Making a U-turn. All right. No problem. All right. Okay. Hey Marcos, does the LAPD have it again? We have actually moved around a little bit. He looked like he was going to get on the 2, and then he actually got off at Riverside. Looks like we're going to be southbound on Riverside. LAPD, one of the helicopters that was tracking this car, they turned that night sun off, and they actually lost contact with the vehicle. I know that other pilots that are out here are working with the LAPD pilots. I'm not sure if they are back on it again. So right now they are. I've just got the thumbs up from Marco, so they are back on it again. They know where we are. but he basically got off on Riverside. He stayed on Riverside right now, and he's basically working his way away from the areas that we've been earlier this evening. Going to get more, probably this is going to be the Atwater Village area to be exact. Just kind of running along Riverside right now, slower speeds. He got a nice freeway on-ramp, and he's making a U-turn, and basically working his way back to where he came from. I am on 5, on 5. Freak 5, Freak 5. So I got a minute or two for my Facebook buddies out there and all my scanner group buddies and pursuit. Oh, I got to work. Yes, I can. Lizzie, how you doing? All righty. Still in, well, Atwater Village right now, but we'll probably be back Echo Park by the time the show starts. All right. Copy all. And I was just talking to Lizzie for all my Facebook buddies. That was Lizzie. If you were watching us the other day, she was the girl that was out in front of the female, the woman, out in front of the CBS building earlier on. The chase continues. You know, this is for the Facebook. You know, it is interesting to see that the LAPD actually even turned off the night sun. What's up, Marcos? They terminated it. Unbelievable. Well, they're giving it up. They're going to walk away. That's what we're hearing. I don't know if they're going to keep that policy right now, but that's what I was just told. Right. All right. Simon Desk, what are we going to do with this? How are we going to play this? Well, you know, pursuit, tracking mode, and now we're hearing that LAPD is saying that this is just too dangerous. They believe they know the driver of that vehicle. They actually know who he is, and they're talking about calling this thing off. So right now, you know, we are not, but I can tell you, we're not alone up here. LAPD is still up here, but they are just, we're just kind of keeping an eye on this thing right now. This started out as an ADW, that means an assault with a deadly weapon. We never got an idea what that deadly weapon was. Was it that vehicle itself? Was it just force? But it started out as that. Officers from LAPD got behind the vehicle. It was in the MacArthur Park area. They turned on their lights and sirens, and the chase was on. Somewhere along the route of that chase, that vehicle, maybe making a U-turn, maybe trying to squeeze its way through, made contact with an LAPD cruiser. Now, we're still working to get all the details on that, but when that happens, it becomes technically an assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. So things changed up very quickly. The pursuit continued, but when the helicopters got overhead, they basically said we're going into tracking mode, hoping that this guy would calm down. The speeds were very high. The maneuvers very dangerous. He did slow down-ish. That's the only way I can really explain it. He's been in the Silver Lake, Echo Park area, up in anybody knows these areas, and if you don't, let me tell you, older homes, very nice neighborhoods, tiny streets. These roads were made for Model Ts. So if you got a car parked on the road, it's one of those ones where you got to let somebody else by if you're going to go through. That's how tiny these streets are. Some of those streets dead end. Some of those streets just basically wind around. This car seemed to know the area extremely well. The high speeds through those areas for a long time. Lights on, lights off. Every now and then he'd choose bigger streets. Right now he's on one of these major streets. His lights are back on, but he's still driving a little erratic this evening. LAPD, they're choosing just to keep an eye on it. That's probably the best way to word it right now. And he continues to drive. I'm waiting to get to an actual red light to see if he runs that red light or stops at it. He has stopped. We're going to move the helicopter around here in just a moment. First time we saw the door open. There he goes. Now he's out there running. First time we can get a look at him, getting a little bit wider. We are up very, very high this evening because they had 2 law enforcement helicopters overhead, and so that makes these moves seemingly lethargic. He basically, I just saw him, he ran up that hillside. Looks like, I'm not that familiar with the area, almost looks like there's some tombstones up here. Running up in an area where it seems to be either that or maybe those are old, it's some sort of old foundations for homes, but that's the area where he is. I'm doing a wider shot, trying to get a better idea. I think that's going to be Glendale Boulevard, and let's do it the old-fashioned way real quick, and Fletcher. So he's going to be Glendale and Fletcher. He's up in that hillside right there. He abandoned that vehicle. We don't see any officers from LAPD in the area right now. So, if they know exactly who this guy is and he abandoned that vehicle, they'll probably just door knock him in a couple of days or just put out a warrant for his arrest. I'm sure that car is going to be impounded. Right now, though, I'm hearing the officers talking about the intersection. Maybe they saw it on our channel. Hopefully they did. And they'll be arriving here shortly, and it's probably going to turn out to be a perimeter. Bizarre. Weird. And my buddy's on Facebook. Just letting you know, Marco's exhausted. I got to tell you, this was Mr. Toad's wild ride. I'm telling you, up here in the helicopter, this was an e-ticket this evening. Marco's making all these crazy moves. We're not up here alone. There are other helicopters up here. He's up here keeping us alive, dodging us. There we go. I don't know if that's him, but they sure treating him like it's him. Anyway, right there, they're taking somebody into custody. See what happens there. This is going to be on Fletcher, just past where we saw that happen. But they're saying 1 in custody right now, so we're going to keep an eye on that. I gotta wonder, I know these guys have a dangerous job. I know that they have a lot on their minds right now, but I'm wondering if that's the guy. Huh? I never saw, I don't know if I saw a hat. I didn't see, he did? Yeah, maybe that is him. Well, interesting for sure, bizarre ending for sure. I'm not 100% that this is the actual suspect. LAPD, they're going to make that call. And the only reason I say that is because he seemed to just be standing there. This is the end of the chase now. They do have somebody in custody. I'm sure they're going to sort all this stuff out. But bizarre ending for sure. Go ahead. Sorry about that. I had you turned down. Go ahead, sir. I'm waiting to hear if this is the suspect. Uh, Honestly, thank you. And you got to know I love LA history, and that is something I will actually, if I drive by, I will stop and look at. And if you know, if you can talk to them, tell them thank you. Honestly. Shelly, I keep trying. I keep trying, Shelly. And I just can't do it. I don't know. Zenith is saying that that's not the guy. My pilot, Marcos, and he's a sharp dude, says that it's him. So we're gonna wait and see. No, the guy was pretty tall. He was super tall. No. And well, it's just for your web guys and stuff. I'm just letting you know. This was pretty bizarre. This was a strange one for sure. Yeah, just getting information from some of my Twitter friends that that we got a shout out on Rampart for probably for trying to help them find the car after they lost him. Right now, though, the pursuit over. It was really a strange deal indeed. I'm curious to know how hard that vehicle, how hard the VW actually hit one of the police cars, because we don't really see any major damage on that car. But in that type of situation, even just brushing up against or just bumping into, that technically is assault with a deadly weapon. And and when these guys are running, you just got to think about it. It's just what these officers are dealing with, how they have to deal with situations, and it was an assault with a deadly weapon. What the deadly weapon was when it was an assault against a civilian, well, I don't know. I just heard this from the get-go. I heard the officers trying to pull that car over, and he ran right from the moment it started. Right now, though, one guy in custody made his way over here. I understand that. I hope I get this guy's name right. Not the congressman. Hang on. I'm not going to mess this up. Who was it that told me that what those markers are? Former LA City Council member Tom LaBonge. Tom LaBonge. I should know this stuff. I am all about LA, and Tom LaBonge, he actually called in and said that those are He's a former. I mean, I'm making sure that I'm putting out that he's a former LA City Councilman. So if you see those things right there on that hillside, those are supports for the red car. If somebody's going, what's the red car? You guys got to watch Roger Rabbit. Anyways, back in the day, LA was had a lot of. Hang on. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Oh. More, more local knowledge. This was part of the red car viaduct. Basically, it was red car was like trolleys, and this area was filled with them at one time. You could just get on. Yep, hang on. Less than a block. Less than a block. Well, it depends on which way he gets to the intersection, but right now there's plenty of officers, and you can tell him it's right by the mini mall, not by the gas station where he dropped off the car. North, right? South. Yeah, from the gas station, he ran south. Southwest on Fletcher. All right, now I got a moment for you guys. Those are part of the red car. And the local residents call that the Silver Lake Stonehenge. So me calling them grave markers. Come on, man, look at that. It looks kind of like maybe an old graveyard. It was just a guess. I didn't say it definitely was. Anyways, that's what those are. Definitely something I'm going to check out next time I'm in the area. I know that there's some great pizza places in this area that I've frequented many times. But at any rate, it's all over. Tom Labange, if you former council member, city council member, thank you for that. And I really truly mean that. I am a huge historian, or just kind of like a buff. I love little tidbits of information like that. So that was super cool. That's the car that they were chasing all night. Probably looking at the damage. That's my guess right there. He's lighting up something on the front. So that's the car they were chasing. He got out. He ran. He made his way over here. Saw him go up into that area. Maybe he did just go into that alleyway and basically came out the other side, and then they took him into custody. So coming to an end. Thank goodness nobody was seriously hurt. And LAPD, awesome job as always. And wow, that was kind of interesting that they just let that guy go for a little bit there. But it did work. I mean, in the end, think about it, it did work. And yes, Shelly, I was giving you a shout out. I don't know. Let me find out. Simon Desk, are they done with us? Internet viewers, thank you so much for watching. And sorry I didn't have more time for you on this one. We had a show the entire time, and in the break, everybody was getting their ducks in a row so that we could make television. So that was what was going on. Anyway, one guy in custody, assault with a deadly weapon, crazy ride through the Silver Lake area and Echo Park. That's what it looks like from above. And tiny roads. Glad nobody got hurt. Glad no animals got hit either. And you know what? We love the love. I'll try to get through some of the comments later on, and